after an appeal has been dismissed under Article 185, another appeal would be available to the litigant for before a larger bench. Would that law stand?
I would rather consider these.
Competence की बात कर रहा हूं.
Let's consider what this law did. Maybe tomorrow that very matter
Yes,
comes before us.
So the question is.
A second
the
appeal.
question
My
is-
Lord's
no,
question
no,
is whether the second
no,
appeal would
no,
be
not
provided.
at all. I am questioning the competence. The appeal in the Supreme Court under 185 is provided by the Constitution. Can another appeal, which is not specifically provided in the Constitution, can be provided by ordinary legislation? The example I gave you was an extreme example.
Right,
The first question is, can by ordinary legislation an appeal be provided where the Constitution specifically does not against orders passed by the Supreme Court?
I will add to this question. Is there any
और
provision
वो
in the
उसमें
Constitution
उसको
preventing
जो वो टेस्ट है कि जी वो आइटम 55 का कि जी वो हमने तो enlarge किया, पहले एक अपील थी, अब हमने दूसरी कर दी है, तो इसलिए ये हमारी competence में है. Would that argument stand?
Noted, my Lord.
ये add
आप
कर-
बाद में जवाब दे दें, आगे बढ़ते
ऐड कर रहा हूँ उसमें दूसरी तरीके से. Is there any provision in the Constitution preventing the Parliament from doing so?
It's noted, my Lord. Now, my Lord, if my Lord may kindly turn to Article 191. Let's go to Article 191. It has been read out. I'll just read the first part of it, where it says, subject to the Constitution and the law.
Mr. Attorney General,
Hello.
please you read just the preamble of this act and section 3.
Yes. Yes, my Lord, it has been read out.
Talks about Article 10A.
Article?
10A.
Yes, it does.
Specifically. And Article 4, Article 25.
My Lord.
And subsequently in section 3 specifically talks about 184.3.
My Lord.
How this can
It does-
be
it does not-
proceeded
Three,
under
yes.
Article 199 when specifically it is challenging the mandate of the Supreme Court as per section 3 of this act.
My Lord.
And how that can be moved before the Supreme High Court under Article 199 of the Constitution.
My Lord, I noted. Noted. My Lord, now the question that has come before your Lordship is whether this Act, 2023 Act, is covered under the definition of law, howsoever expansive definition, however expansively the term law is defined. My Lord, Article 260 has two definitions. One is of an act of Parliament and the other is of a federal law. Here we are dealing with a federal law. Article 260 defines a federal law. It says,
You say over here, law includes statute law.
yes,
So, point.
yes. In my respectful submission, law can only have one meaning as far as this provision is concerned. But even if it is given an expansive meaning, this act would surely be covered under the definition of law.
It's to be covered, then why didn't the Constitution say by an act of Parliament? Why did it use the word law? These words are not interchangeable. They are used in a very specific sense in different articles. And so you have to, the interpretation has to be given to the word law and not to just say, just because law includes legislation, so here it will be legislation alone. Law has a meaning, and if the Constitution wanted to say just by an act of Parliament, it would have used those words.
Your Ladyship, when we look at the provisions from where the Parliament draws its
Why did you look at
legislative
75.3?
G 75(3) and 141 and 142 as well.
पढ़ लेते हैं जरा, उसमें दोनों लफ्ज इस्तेमाल हो गए.
when the President has assented or is deemed to have assented to a bill, it shall become law and be called an act of Majlis-e-Shura.
So law is what happens, what it is, the name of the thing is, you are a man, your name is Mansoor Rahman. I would read it like that.
And the definition of federal law under Article 260 is, federal law means a law made by or under the authority of Majlis-e-Shura Parliament. Now, if we turn to Article 8.2, for the sake of this submission, where any law which is inconsistent with fundamental rights is void, Article 8.2 says, the state shall not make any law. Now, the state is not just the parliament, the state is the province, the governments and the assemblies and any authority which has the power or is authorized by law to impose any taxes.
आप फरमा रहे हैं कि law, and you refer to the definition of federal law. You don't say federal law, it says...
It does not. What I'm saying is...
I have a question for you. Suppose a provincial assembly under Article 191 law बना देती है, बना सकती है?
So 2000 के अंदर 2000 Supreme Court deals with that question. Yes, they cannot. The answer, because the power with respect to legislation with respect to regulating the court's jurisdictions or powers flows from entry 55, so 191 or 175 too, for that matter.
Respect, I draw your attention to entry 58.
Relates to the federation also. Yes. Ji.
Kindly read it.
Matters which under the constitution are within the legislative competence of parliament or relate to the federation.
So therefore it seems to me, and I put it to you as a question, that actually entry 55 has nothing to do with Article 191. The power that is specifically conferred on parliament to make statute law, and in terms of Article 191, is relatable to entry 58. Entry 55 has got nothing to do with Article 191. And this connection, first of all, excludes the example that I gave of a provincial assembly making a law over here, right? And secondly, it establishes that here there is a direct grant by the by a specific article of the Constitution on Parliament, as opposed to the general grant as conferred by Articles 141, 142 and so on. That's a general. This is a specific grant. Because precisely it is a specific grant, it relates to a specific entry 58. So I would put it to you as a question that entry 51 has no relevance for the present issue.
Entry
55 has no relevance. This is a matter between, and insofar as law is concerned, statute law, Act of Parliament, the connection is 191 and entry 58. I would say to you, entry 55 has got nothing to do with it. What would you say to that? Keep it in mind and move on.
Well, now, my lord, if my lords may kindly turn to Article 141. This is with respect to reference to the use of term law in Article 191.
Should be read with Article 260.
260.
Act of Parliament. So here is the word is law, so you can
yes.
read together.
And 141 and 142 also is in continuum, my lord. 141. Subject to the Constitution, Parliament...